Biology, Chapter 17, Theory Video 6. Now, to tell you more about these antibiotic resistant strains, what happens is when you take more and more antibiotics, so most of the population, if more humans take antibiotics, what happens is we provide these bacteria greater selection pressure, and as a result they will evolve resistance to these bacteria. So these alleles for these antibiotic resistance will most often occur on plasmids. So plasmids can be transferred from one bacterium to another, and also different between different species. So as a result, this antibiotic resistance can be antibiotic resistance that develops in one bacterium can be transferred to another bacterium as well. Write down a small note on this. Antibiotic resistance develops further or faster when more humans use antibiotics, resulting in greater selection pressure on bacteria to develop resistance to them. This antibiotic resistance that develop often occur on plasmids, which can be transferred from one bacterium to another or even interspecies. Right. So this is another example of this directional selection that we are going to discuss about. This is industrial melanism. Now you know what happened during the industrial revolution that took place in Europe during the early 18th and 19th centuries. What happened was there was this moth called Biston betularia. So this is a peppered moth, or a moth that looks like this, as you can see in this image here. These moths, actually this is the kind of moth who existed earlier. So what happened was this moth had this color of the bark which it rested on, which is light colored, light forms of peppered moth. So these fellows were there in on these barks. They hide inside under the under different branches of trees to survive from the moth hunting birds, or the insect hunting birds. So these in UK and Ireland, these moths were present but during the first half of the 18th century. So they all until the 1849 all of these moths had pale wings with dark markings. So they had a speckled appearance. Now after 1849, that is at the middle of the 19th century, what happened was a black, that is melanic, that is high in melanin moth was found, and from there on most of the moths that were found had this they were melanic. That means their number increased. The black Biston betularia increased in dramatically, and became the most common type of moth. So the difference was created by a single gene that actually produced the recessive allele to the black color, making it a dominant allele. So what happened was, now as a result of the uh, uh, pollution that resulted because of the industrial revolution, the tree branches became uh, tree branches became black. So to survive under these conditions, they couldn't have just survive with the light colors on them. So that is the reason why they developed that pressure, developed as a result of these results. Uh, Now, because when there is unpolluted air, tree branches will usually get covered with gray, brown, and green lichen. But in other areas, because of the pollutants, the lichens do not grow on trees and will result in them being darker bark. So to get camouflage under these conditions, uh, they needed that dark color. So this pressure resulted in them developing this mutation, and that resulted in them being more common. The dark moths being more common was what we saw as a result of that. Write down a note on this. A mutation resulted in the number of black moths of the species Biston betularia as a result of the pollution which made the trees become black. As a result of the pollution in Europe, the selection pressure caused the change of allele frequency, and as a result, black moth became larger in number than the light colored moths. However, it should be noted that changes in environmental factors only affect the likelihood of an allele surviving in a population. They do not affect the likelihood of such an allele arising by mutation. Right. Now we are going to discuss genetic drift and the founder effect. So the selection pressure is not the only factor that determine which individuals are going to survive and which are going to reproduce. There is the possibility of chance as well. Now, when you talk about the chance is going to have, that is, the luck is going to have kind of a significant effect if the population is small. So if there is a small population of plants where but 2 plants have white flowers and 3 plants have yellow flowers, just by chance the seeds from the white flowers will fall on the would fall on unsuitable ground, and the yellow few seeds from the yellow flower will fall on better area, and as a result they will become adult plants. So what happens is there would be more yellow plants, and the white flowers will be completely lost out. This happens due to chance. It has nothing to do with any mutation or whatever the forces that we spoke about earlier, but it happens because of chance, and this is called genetic drift. Genetic drift. So this is genetic drift is a change in allele frequency that occurs by chance. So it does not happen as a result of natural selection. So it is if there are only a small number of individuals uh, uh, that is they which are separate or either isolated or separated from the rest of the large population, they would have genetic drift might be a result of that. Write down a note on this. Selection pressure is not the only factor that determines which individuals survive and reproduce. A change in allele frequency can occur by chance as well. For example, in a very small population of a species, two plants, one having white flowers, the other having yellow flowers, where seeds of the white flower falling on unfavorable soil and dying out, but seeds of the yellow flower falling on good soil and developing to adult plants, resulting in white flowers dying off but yellow flowers thriving. This process is known as genetic drift. Put a star and write down the definition. The gradual change in allele frequencies in a small population where some alleles are lost, favored just by chance and not by natural selection. I hope you understood. If you have any questions, please ask.